really good news. Turn the time over to our general manager to talk a little bit about this. To ratify the purchase and sale agreement of Area C property.
I sent out a message a couple of weeks ago to you asking for permission to go ahead and sign the purchase and sale agreement for the Area C property. The potential buyer is under contract at this point, if you ratify that, to buy the entire property that was foreclosed on, 2,300 and some acres. The bondholders have approved, actually the bondholders and we counter-offered on the first offer, and the potential buyer approved that counter-offer. So the bondholders have signed this agreement. I signed the agreement, and we're asking that you ratify the approval of that tonight.
Very good. Any questions for Ron? Did we get a chance to see that email that came through with the offer?
Is that the one that had the, what was the house?
Modular.
The modular, yeah, has anybody looked at that website? It's kind of interesting.
I don't know what they're planning for this property. It may be something different. But one thing I would like to mention is that the bondholders counteroffer had in it that the buyer would not have to pay water reservation fees for 10 months after closing. I talked to Mark Gaylord and said that's unacceptable. The settlement agreement says they'll pay water reservation fees at the time or right after closing. So unfortunately they changed, the bondholders agreed to change that part of the contract.
Very good. All right, thank you. Any other discussion on this item before it goes to ratifying the purchase and sale agreement for Area C property? Open that up to the board for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve and ratify the purchase and sale agreement for the Area C property. I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on this motion? If not, we'll go ahead. Oh,
We're on the motion right now.
okay. Come back to you after this.
I guess I got a question, Ron. What are we doing on our property? You're trying to sell our property?
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Let us close this first.
Well, I think it relates to it.
Okay. All right. Motion, that was first and second. Go to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Do you have the closing date?
The due diligence period is 45 days and the closing is 45 days after that or less. So it's October sometime.
Okay, good.
Okay. Mr. Cummings, you have a question?
No, I think kind of relevant now. I guess that's the motion closed, but I guess the board's aware that we had to file another suit on a couple days ago during a discrepancy on the property boundaries on our property. Is the board aware of this?
We're going to address that in closed session.
Okay.
Well, I just want the board to be aware, because I'd like to know, because you're advertising our property in the sale of this, and the new owners probably ought to realize you don't own that property.
Okay. I'll make a note of that and we'll discuss that in closed session then.
Just for clarification, any one of us who voted on that item, if after closed session we decide that we need to change our vote, we can. Just it's aware that's part of the procedure.
That was on the creative side.
Well, that would be all 7 of us.
Yeah.
I think we've been through this for several years. I think it's pretty clear what properties are what, but just
Greg, have you looked at the sales? Have you looked at the brochure that you guys are trying to sell?
Okay. All right, very good. Let's move on to the next item. Number 4, action on water treatment plant funding agreement. Mr. Chairman. for manager.
Yeah, don't put me, don't put me there.
I don't want to be the manager either, so I'll stay with being the chair. Go ahead, Mr. Manager, we'll turn that over to you.
In our capital facilities plan, we have a item for a new water treatment plant that would be located just south of the Jordanelle Reservoir Dam. That will be an additional water source and treatment for water rights that the district owns in the Jordanelle Reservoir. We have 2 developers, and maybe more, but 2 right now, that are proposing developments in Hideout, and they do not have a source for treatment for water. They have the option of drilling a well and chlorinating that and supplying their developments that way, or work with us to develop a source that would serve their developments as well as others. So what we discussed with them is that if they voluntarily want to prepay their impact fees to develop the infrastructure, and then this calls for paying an additional $14,250 or so on at building permit, or at closing, not build, well, they have the option of paying at building permit or at closing of the sale of the lot.
Per ERU.
Per ERU, to build this treatment plant. If we enter into this agreement with them, then that would allow them to proceed with their developments under this agreement. They would pay the $7,000 per ERU impact fees up front, and then pay the $14,000 plus at the time of building permit or closing on lots or ERUs. We feel this is a very good approach. It will give us a redundant water supply for the district, and we have other developers that are expressing interest in participating as well. If they come around, then we'll probably amend this agreement to include them, and then that would lower the per ERU cost for all of them.
Would they get refunded anything paid already at that point? Because that'd be
My guess is if it happens, it'll happen before they start paying the $14,000. So this is my assumption. My assumption is the $14,000 number would lower, but the $7,000 would not.
If the treatment plant's over here under the, I guess north of the sewer plant, how would it get clear to Hideout? Up over through the lines that are there, or?
We're proposing to take a new water line, 16-inch water line up to Highway 40 to tie into our 16-inch main there, and that would serve either way.
So it's fairly easy to get it to them.
And that would be done in the same project as bringing the new sewer line to the plant down that same right-of-way across the primary jurisdiction of EOR.
You just have to get the distance between the two.
We have to build them simultaneously. They'll only let us in there once, so that's what we're shooting for.
Do you have an estimated cost of the treatment plant?
Line?
No.
Oh, the treatment plant?
Yeah.
It's $2 million plus the infrastructure. The treatment plant itself, we're talking about doing the first phase of a membrane plant that could be up to 8 million gallons a day. The first phase would be 2 million gallons a day, and that's in the neighborhood of $2 million plus the infrastructure. So the $7,000 per ERU would pay for the infrastructure, so we could get started on that soon. And then the remaining money would accumulate to build a plant at some point in the future.
positive thing where you've got a developer that's winning from the cost at the beginning, and then on for it. If the market turns, it doesn't affect it, it's, you know, like we have had in the past.
So their choice is to either put off their development until this improvement comes up in the capital facilities plan, the impact fee plan, at some distant point in the future, or they can voluntarily, we're not forcing it, there's no way we can tell them to do this, but they can voluntarily enter into an agreement to do it this way.
For a time in life, are they anxious to get more?
They're anxious.
Okay. What's any downfall for going with this?
There's a lot of advantage to it. I mean, at some point, we're gonna have to start taking water out of the Jordanelle because we don't have the capacity in the tunnel, you know, the leach, and it's gonna be costly to even take it to our existing plant.
And it would be more costly to expand the Keatley plant if we had the water, the wet waters to serve it. At some point, we may have to talk about Silverfisher or something there to increase the flow, but that's not something we want to get into now.
And the original plant probably should have been built below the dam to begin with.
Or in the North Fields.
Okay, very good. Any other thoughts or discussion on this item here before we go to the vote? Okay, if not, motion is in order then.
Chairman, I would make the motion that we approve the water treatment plant funding agreement as presented and authorize the manager to move ahead with this.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Crittenden, second by Mr. Park. Any more discussion on this item? If not, go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Water treatment plant funding agreement is approved. We're going to move on to the next item, number 5, action on Summit Hotel Development Agreement. Manager, take down.
We've been discussing this for over a year, I think, at this point. One of the discussion points that we've been having with the developer of the Gilbert Hotel has been the 10-inch sewer line, the 8-inch line that had to be upgraded to 10-inch. Max and Lynn and our engineers have worked and gotten the cost of that project down to about $49,000, which is only about $16,000 for them, about $15,000 for the district, and the rest is Western States Ventures. They've signed that agreement to build that, and so we have developed now this development agreement. I'm authorized to sign these, but I thought this was one we should bring to you so we could report on where we are on this project. This includes participation in the sewer line off the dam, and we think it's, they've told me verbally that they don't have any objection to the agreement. I think they're having their attorney review it at this point, but I feel fairly comfortable that it's going to be signed, and we'll issue a will-serve letter. And,
It's a good one to get done.
yeah.
Good job.
Kind of goes hand in hand with the last one we just did as far as the construction along with the dam. They would have to find the sewer line that comes in with that.
Steve, would we have a bet on this?
You don't got it. I don't see the signature on it
I was
yet.
waiting for you to say.
He wants to see a signature yet.
There's no signature yet, Ron, so the bet's still on.
Okay.
Okay, any other thoughts there, Ron?
No.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Mr. Becky, second by Mr. Farrell. Any more discussion on the motion? If not, go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is Justin Mark 25 now?
He's the manager. And that may be some of the
Okay.
Okay, item number 6, consideration of the adoption of a lease purchase agreement in the amount of $392,000 to finance the purchase of a sewer vac truck.
Max?
Now, Max for that?
So hopefully you've had the opportunity to look over it a little bit. Currently, we have a vac truck. It's a 2001 Vector, same type of model. It is getting to where it is inadequate for what we do. So just a little bit of what we do with our vac truck. It's not just for jetting sewer lines, things like that. We also use it to excavate water digs. So it's getting more and more common to have fiber, power, everything in here. So we don't go in and just start digging with our hoe. We'll excavate down with that. As well as this piece of equipment, if we have a major problem with one of our sewer lift stations, there's one thing you can't do, and that's stop the sewer that's coming in. So if we have a major failure, or we have redundant pumps, but there's been times where we've lost a pump and the redundant pump is having a hard time to keep up. This is a piece of equipment we use to suck that out, take it to the next one to give us time to fix it. So this is a lease agreement through Zions Financial. The truck we're looking at purchasing is a 2017 Freightliner with a Vector 2100 on it. We do have $50,800 budgeted for an annual lease payment for this for the next 7 years. So the funds are there. This is just a lease agreement with Zions Financial to purchase the vac truck, and then we'll make the payments to Zions Financial. So this is an extremely key piece of equipment that we use daily. We have miles and miles and miles of sewer line. This is an upgrade from what we have. We can reach further. It has a larger capacity to it. A lot more technical advances in its camera. So we can camp the camera on it. We can send up and it rotates, and we can look up sewer laterals and do some things like that. So the current truck that we have right now, it's like I said, it's over 15 years old. We're starting to have to put some maintenance into the pony motor on it, some things like that. Still a good truck, but it's become pretty obvious that we're going to have to start putting some things into it. And it's just a little bit undersized for what we need now. The current truck we have now, I feel that the value of it is somewhere between $70,000 and $100,000. So once the new Vector truck, if you guys approve it, once the new Vector is here, that one will get cleaned up and go for sale, and I hope to get somewhere in the $70,000 to $100,000 for that, which will go in that.
You don't think there's a mandate to have two of them?
There hasn't been in the past. You know, we get by pretty well with one. We could use the revenue from it to help pay for this one. One thing we do with our Vector is we try to help everyone out. We've helped the county jet culverts. We've been down to the transfer station, sucking out the flood they have in their little drive-through there. So, you know, it's a really key piece of equipment, and everyone knows we have it, and we try to help other entities when needed. So
Probably similar to the one Heber has, which is
yeah, so Heber City's purchased one a couple years ago, a new one, and we've actually spoke with Snyderville Basin, Park City, a lot of different entities that have this same back truck, and they seem to be.
I think for your excavation purposes, that's probably
it's really hard to
easy.
beat.
With all the stuff that's in the ground now.
So it is a really key piece of equipment. I feel that 16 years out of the current vac truck that we're operating, that's a pretty good run. We do take care of our equipment very well, and I think getting that length of use out of it kind of shows that. So I would assume that we would get the same out of this new one.
Is there a purchase amount on the end of this lease?
No, after the 7-year lease agreement, it is our piece of equipment.
So it's a lease to own.
It's a lease to own.
Okay, it's a lease purchase.
A lease purchase. So they'll just pay the supplier the full amount for the piece of equipment. We'll make the payments to them at the end of the lease. The equipment's ours. So in 7 years, we'll own it. So.
And get about 25% or fifth of the value of the old one, possibly to apply towards this, and the life of the vehicle will probably be another 15 years.
So we're using the $50,800 that we have budgeted this year as a down payment. So actually, the amount financed will be $341,000, and our annual payments will be $54,250, I think. It's a 2.75% loan from Zions Bank.
So we'll have the capacity to suck out bowling ball sized rocks out of manholes.
Oh, yeah, you would be surprised what we can suck with that and what we do. There's some pretty,
You know, when they were building Tim Meadows, somebody left the lid manhole off, and the kids, remember that? They filled it full of rocks. Rocks were about this big. And we found out when the replacement started to back up the sewage because the kids jammed the manhole with rocks, and then the truck went down and sucked them out. Pretty good job.
How do you excavate with that truck?
so you've seen the big holes on the big aluminum. You get that out in the dirt and it has a spray wash, so there's 1,500 gallons of water. So you have a pressure washer and you just start squirting it around.
And it sucks it away, so you don't have a hole full of
You can
water.
excavate a hole 16 feet deep.
If you eliminate one fiber optic accident or one major, you would, I mean, it's a major deal. All the power companies have them too now, for that very reason.
So a lot of the laterals, the water laterals on going to a home, if there's a problem there, we'll go right in with that. You know, if it's a major dig on a major line where it's away from a development, we can get our backhoe in and start doing that. But when we're inside of the development with all the fiber, power, everything, we start with the back truck, identify where all this is, and then we can bring the backhoe and start digging. So it's a nice piece of equipment.
Very good, thank you.
I just want to mention that we've been working with John Bronson. He's helped get this financing done. The first go-around with the Zions Bank finance people, they turned us down based on the financial reports from the past that where we're carrying the bond assessment stuff on our books because we're required to, even though we really don't have to pay that. So I suggested John that Max and I come in with him and meet with them, and we had Kirsten on the phone, conference phone during the meeting as well. We spent a little over an hour with them explaining away all this stuff.
Well, he has a little bit of knowledge of some of that stuff too, so.
Oh yeah, he had a 4-page history of the bond assessment process. So unfortunately, they changed their mind.
Very good, well, thank you. So you're bringing us a recommendation. There's no other discussion on this item. We'll bring it back to the board. We've got a recommendation by the general manager.
Make a motion that we adopt the lease purchase agreement in the amount of $392,000 for the finance the purchase of a sewer back truck.
Very good.
Second it.
A motion and a second. Any more discussion on this? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we approve the adoption of the lease purchase agreement.